Hey AP Econ class, this is video 2 from chapter 8 where we're going to figure out what is included in GDP. Last video we talked about GDP's shortcomings and how it doesn't include our happiness, our health, or our housework. GDP though is pretty important. It gives you a good indicator as to what our economy is doing. So, what does that mean? Well, we discussed the circular flow last time. And we discussed that there are really like two ways that we can view the economy. We can view it from the household giving the businesses money, or we can view it from the businesses giving households money. And so we're going to discuss GDP today through that lens. These pages 191 through 196 sort of talk about GDP from the product approach first. The product approach is the most common approach, the expenditure approach. And so we're going to define GDP as C plus I plus G plus X. Now each of those letters, of course, stands for something. GDP is all the goods and services produced within a country in a given year. And that is accounted for by factoring in really four different things. And so what these are is C is consumption. This is the greatest part of our GDP. Usually accounts for about anywhere between 60 and 90%, depending upon the country, of GDP. Think about all the different times that you've purchased a final good in the last year. And if that good was produced within the borders of the United States, that is part of our GDP. Then we have investment. This is maybe the most difficult to understand because investment means different things to different people. To an economist, investment means money spent investing in something that's going to eventually be consumption. This could be purchasing a vehicle for your fleet, for your business, that will deliver pizzas, deliver those final goods and services. That's investment. Government is G. Any money that the government spends. This is a growing figure. And then X stands for net exports. I use the word net not because I'm referring to nets, but because I'm referring to a net figure. It's exports minus imports, and I'm putting that in a different color because it's implied. Exports minus imports. In the U.S. economy, that's a negative figure. We definitely import more than we export, so this is a negative number. So what is U.S. GDP? Now you could go look up your own figure. I'm making this on February 10th, 2014. And in 2013, GDP was $15.6 trillion. It means in the year 2013, we consumed, invested, government spent, and we net exported $15.6 trillion. That's a huge figure. That's the largest economy in the world, the largest economy in the world ever. Now this is a nominal figure. We have to factor in real GDP, which real GDP doesn't mean that this is not real, but real GDP is it accounts for prices. And in 2013, real GDP went up 1.3%. I can't give you some of the figures because it's real GDP. It's all factored into base years and that kind of stuff. But real GDP is growing at a rate of 1.3%. That's kind of low compared to some of the burgeoning countries of the world that are growing at 8-9%. But we'll take it. Now the book also addresses NDP. And NDP is just GDP minus depreciation. Depreciation is when your investment depreciates in value. That vehicle you bought for your pizza delivery company, that vehicle depreciates over time. The value of that investment is not the same in year 3 as it is in year 1. So when we factor in this depreciation, it gives us a net domestic product. It doesn't truly give us a great figure when we just look at GDP. It doesn't factor in things like when our factories rust, when our factories age and our machinery is outdated. So we have to factor in depreciation. And there's one last thing that I'm not really going to spend too much time on. I don't want you guys to get too confused by this. But the book brings up GDI. GDI is just gross domestic income. And what you really need to know about GDI is that it is exactly equal to GDP, which was our expenditures. Remember our circular flow? These two things are equal for that reason. Whatever we get as income, we spend. Whatever we spend comes back to us as income. So that's kind of a theoretical value. You could calculate it out and write up all these if situations and where these two things are not the same, but they are for our intents and purposes. So we are going to discuss more about GDP, personal income, per capita GDP in our next video.